Hey everyone, today's journey takes us to Bison Hollow State Nature Preserve down in Hocking Hills area. To get there, you'll have to take a gravel road back about a mile. Partway in, the only sign you see is this handwritten one, which says Bison Hollow half mile. And there are a few houses on the way. But park here before you get to the creek. It's not really a parking spot, it's just a wide area. I usually don't see this many cars here, but make sure you park off the road and don't block any farm gates or anything. You'll have to cross this creek, and that can be on foot. You can drive across it and park on the other side of it if you want, but you can't go too far. As you'll see, there's no trespassing signs posted all over the place. On the left-hand side are signs saying it belongs to a paper mill company. So don't go on the left side of this road. But the no trespassing signs I have on good authority are there to give the preserve recourse in prosecuting those who like to take their ATVs illegally on the land and tear it up. It is not meant to discourage hikers, and hikers will not be bothered. Although everywhere around the hollow is private property of some sort, either commercially owned or individually owned. And it's hard to find a boundary map of this place. I had one in my possession once, and I don't know where I found it or where it's at. But these signs, as long as you're on this road and you're down in the hollow, I would say you are doing all right. You're fine. The real scenery is visible once you get down into the hollow. You got a lot of Blackstone Sandstone bluffs, cliffs, rock walls, whatever you want to call them. And when you get down here, you'll see that there's once again another reminder: no trespassing, private property. They have that blocked off. Again, I'm told that is meant for the ATVs, for the benefit, so that they do not go down further. Vehicles are there. There's a creek at the bottom of that road. You'll want to cross it. And I had to look around for a place that was not over my ankle height waterproof shoes. And there's a few rocks and high points that I could step across. I have not been there where it's been much higher than this. I've only been here in the wintertime. But the hollow is kind of wide at this point. You do have cliffs on both sides. They're quite interesting to look at. The floor of the hollow is flat. Not a whole lot of undergrowth. This makes it easy to walk along. Although I like to follow this trail, or whatever it is, road, along most of the way until I go take a look at the cliffs. Since there are no trails, I assume we're allowed everywhere. In the wintertime, when it gets cold, this is winter, pretty much, it's close to winter time, but when it gets to be down below freezing for a week or so, these cliffs have some really good icicle displays. There's a lot of trickling water coming down them, seeping water, which aren't necessarily seen on days like this, but in the wintertime they freeze, and it's a really great place to get some good photographs. Bison Hollow is named after the now extinct eastern woodland bison, a subspecies of bison common to Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and Ohio. They are believed to be extinct since 1825. I didn't even know there were woodland bison, so I learned something. At the back of the hollow, the southern portion of it, my favorite feature is here. It's a slot waterfall that has cut its way down through the sandstone over the ages, and is quite unique, I think. It's hard to see unless you want to get wet. In the summertime, I've got to get down here in the summertime one of these days and wade into that water, because I know that water is just freezing cold, and I don't want to do it in anything less than 80 plus weather. And it is deeper than it appears here. It's at least 6 feet at its deepest. And it's actually kind of murky colored here, although the turquoise coloring does come out. I've been down here when it hasn't rained just in the last few days, and that water is crystal clear. It is just absolutely beautiful. Before I got down here on this day, it had rained a little bit and has clouded it up. The creek that flows through the hollow is the east branch of the Queer Creek. That's kind of hard to say for me. Queer Creek. I never heard of it. The rare autumn coral root orchid has recently been discovered making their home in the hollow. It's a natural native plant, and I have yet to see one, since I'm assuming that only grows invisible in the warmer months. And like I said, I have not been down here outside of this time frame. Here's a smaller trickle of a waterfall that runs pretty much most of the year. You can see how it's eroded the ground, that it's always running for the most part. And just a reminder, there is a no pet policy, so please don't bring your dogs here. When I was down here on this day, there were a group of people that had a dog running off leash, and that's a no-no. Not just the off leash, but no dogs, period. There are no facilities here. As you saw where we parked, there's not even really much of a parking space. So plan on taking care of that before you get here, so we don't need to mess up this beautiful area. The entrance to this spot that I did on this day, I will have listed in the comments, not the comment section, but the little blurb on the description at the beginning of this. It's on Schooley Road. So that's the one you'll want to use to get to the spot that I went to. At the end of this video, I put on a GPS tracking animation, and that will show you kind of the route that I took. Well, it'll show you the route that I took, so it gives you some idea of where these items and views are. I put some notations in there. Hopefully that'll help you when you visit. I think on this day I only did about 2 miles, 2-ish miles. When I've been down here before, I've been able to get in 4. I followed the creek north much further on previous times, but there's a lot of no trespassing signs on either side of the creek, so unless you're walking through the creek at one point, you'll probably be trespassing. Now we're back up. I'm on our way back to the car, and on top of the ridge you can see down into the hollow and how flat it really appears to be from up top. Now we're on top of the slot waterfall. As far as I know, there's no name for it. I guess we'll just call it Bison Hollow Waterfall. It's kind of hard to see This rock up here is very slippery when it's wet, and it slants toward the falls. And so once you start slipping, you're going to have to be very cautious. And there is an upper waterfalls. We'll just call them upper falls right there. And hard to tell from here, but that's about a 6-foot drop. And it's forming kind of a slot in the stone as well. So I've crossed the creek. I've got to cross another section of it to get back to the car, but it wasn't that hard to get. It wasn't that deep where I crossed. And here's the animation I was telling you about. I hope everyone enjoyed this. Hope everyone is enjoying all my videos. I would love to hear some places that you'd like reviewed, maybe you haven't been to, or you have been and you'd like to get some footage so you can share it with friends if you haven't, if they didn't travel with you. All right, everyone, stay safe.